Hey everybody, Vincent Ayala here to talk to you about ultra-wide inputs. So let's jump into EventMaster and check it out. Here's the setup. We're using EventMaster Toolset 10.1. We have one screen destination with two outputs totaling a resolution of 3840 by 1080 at 5994. Additionally, we have assigned an output for one of our multi-viewers and we have patched in two inputs. One is a corporate PC and one is my MacBook Pro M4 Pro. Both have been set to extended desktop mode. And both are utilizing USB-C to DisplayPort cables. Just as a note, we could have also used the tri-combo card as an input for ultra-wide inputs. Let's take a look at these DisplayPort inputs. We'll select the PC. We'll go to the EDID tab in the input panel, and we'll enable Display ID block. This will allow us to use horizontal resolutions that exceed 4096 in the EDID. Then we'll open the format picker and we'll select 7680 by 1080 and we'll hit apply. We can see our current EDID is now 7680 by 1080. Let's go back to the settings tab. Sometimes PCs do not automatically conform when a new EDID is detected, so we may need to reseat the cable, which is what I'm going to do now. You'll notice the connector is going to turn red, and when I reestablish a connection by plugging it back in here in the studio, it will turn green, indicating the sync is good and valid once again. Alright, there we go. It's turned red, indicating loss of signal. We'll also see that loss of sync in our multi-viewer. Now I'm going to reestablish connection by plugging it back in. And there we have it. The computer is now outputting 7680 by 1080. Now you may say, but Vincent, what's going on in the multi-viewer there? Why does it look odd? Why is the input window not represented correctly in the multi-viewer? Well, that's a great question. Let's head over to the multi-viewer page and investigate. Right off the bat, the first thing we want to do is refit the window. And then we'll go ahead and make it slightly larger. Alright, that's it for PC. It's that simple. To recap, you simply go to the EDID tab, enable the Display ID block, establish the EDID format, and then potentially reconnect your PC. We can now use that input in everyday operation. But let's head back to the configuration page and take a look at the MacBook input. Here we have the Mac input. The first thing we want to do is go to the EDID tab and make sure that the Display ID block is disabled in the input panel. If Display ID block is enabled, this Mac will not allow resolutions larger than 4096. Once we ensure Display ID block is disabled, we can proceed. Let's head over to the Mac and let's start tuning that in. Now for this part of the demonstration, we need a third-party piece of software called SwitchResX with the Pro license installed. SwitchResX will help us force a specified resolution. Now, just like for the PC, before we start, we want to make sure that our output here is set to extended desktop, which I completed before we started this demonstration. Let's head into the display settings and take a look. Here are the display settings. Now, to be fair, because SwitchResX is going to force the resolution, most of these settings are effectively irrelevant except for the extended desktop mode. Let's head over to SwitchResX in the settings menu and launch it. Okay, let's select the Encore3. Let's establish a custom resolution for the Encore3 by clicking this plus button. And we're going to use simplified settings for this to make it easier. We're going to do 7680 by 1080, and then we'll hit tab again, and that will automatically fill in our refresh rate. We'll hit OK, and then we'll want to save this. We'll go to the File tab, and we'll hit Save Settings. Now, when we hit that Save Settings, you may see a bit of glitching on your main monitor. That's okay. That is SwitchResX doing its magic. We'll come back to Custom Resolutions. We'll make sure that our custom resolution is set, and then we're going to go to Current Resolutions, and we'll select 7680 by 1080. Once that 7680 by 1080 has been established, we can go back into our display settings and you'll see that it is currently outputting the proper resolution. So we're good to go there. Okay, now if we go back to EventMaster toolset and take a look at the Mac ultrawide settings, we'll see that the format is good and valid, and we're seeing the format come in at 7680 by 1080. But it looks like our multi-viewer needs to be tuned in just like it did for the PC. Let's head over to the multi-viewer page and fix that. We're going to select the Mac ultrawide window and hit refit, and then we're going to size that up a bit. Okay, now we're free to move about the cabin. Let's head over to the programming page and let's furl down our inputs. And now we can see here our PC ultrawide. Let's bring the PC ultrawide in as a layer. Here we have the layer that we can size up and down. Additionally, not only can we bring it in as a layer, but we can also bring in these ultrawide inputs as backgrounds. Not just any background though, but a repositionable background. Here we have our repositionable background that we can freely move. Let's just center that one and let's use our ultra-wide input to make a quick look. And then we'll go to preset and save this from preview just for fun. Alright, there we have it. That's ultra-wide on the new Encore 3. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us at Encore3@Barco.com. Thanks and take care.